Iron Mesa, Texas, 1888. The rain had been falling for 3 days when Martha Bennett heard the knock at her cabin door. And she knew before she opened it that trouble had arrived. The cliffside Mesa village was cut off, roads turned to rivers of mud, and supplies running thin, as the last of the war-broken men limped home with nothing but ghosts in their pockets. Martha wiped her hands on her apron, pushed a loose strand of chestnut hair behind her ear, and crossed the small room to the door. When she opened it, a man stood in the downpour, hat pulled low, water streaming from the brim.
"I need shelter, ma'am. Just until the storm breaks."
His voice was calm, measured, like a river moving slow over stone. Martha hesitated. She was a midwife, proper and respected, and sharing her cabin with a stranger could ruin everything she had built in this town. But the cold was brutal, and no Christian woman could turn a man away to freeze.
"One night. You sleep by the fire. I keep the back room."
She stepped aside. He entered, bringing the smell of rain and gun oil. And when he removed his hat, she saw gray eyes that held secrets deeper than any canyon. Malcolm Pierce set his saddlebag down carefully, never letting it out of sight. Martha watched him with the practiced eye of someone who had delivered babies in the worst conditions and seen every kind of man this hard land produced. He moved like someone who knew how to disappear, how to make himself small in a room. She did not trust that.
"You have a name."
"Malcolm Pierce. I am a gunsmith, passing through."
"No one passes through Iron Mesa in January. The roads are closed."
"Then I will wait."
He settled by the fire, and Martha retreated to her back room, closing the door firmly. But sleep would not come. She could hear him moving, the soft clink of metal, the rustle of leather. When she finally drifted off, she dreamed of flames and secrets buried in ash. The next morning, the rain had not stopped. Martha rose early and found Malcolm already awake, sitting at her table with his hands wrapped around a cup of coffee he had made himself.
"I hope you do not mind. I found the pot."
"You are bold for a guest."
"I am grateful for a roof. Boldness is survival."
She poured herself a cup and sat across from him. The cabin felt smaller with him in it, the air charged with something she could not name. He had a stillness about him that made her nervous, like a gun waiting to fire.
"What brings a gunsmith to Iron Mesa?"
"Work. Repairs. Men always need guns fixed."
"We have a gunsmith already. Harlan Webb."
"Then I will move on when the road's clear."
She wanted to believe him, but something in his eyes told her he was lying. Not about everything, but about why he was here. Before she could press further, another knock came at the door. Martha opened it to find Oswald Calhoun, the storekeeper, standing under an umbrella with a smile that never reached his eyes. He was a tall man, always dressed too fine for a frontier town, with slick-back hair and hands that had never known real work. "Mr. Calhoun, what brings you out in this weather?" Oswald smiled, but his gaze slid past her to Malcolm. "Just checking on folks, Miss Bennett. Making sure everyone has what they need." "I see you have company."
"A traveler. Waiting out the storm."
Oswald nodded slowly. "Of course. Christian charity. Though people do talk, Miss Bennett. A woman of your reputation. Alone with a stranger." The threat was clear. Martha felt heat rise in her chest. Anger mixing with fear.
Thank you for your concern, Mr. Calhoun. I am quite capable of managing my own affairs.
Oswald tipped his hat. Of course. Just remember, I control the credit at the store. Reputation matters. He turned and walked away, his boots squelching in the mud. Martha closed the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. Malcolm stood.
He is dangerous.
He is the storekeeper.
Men like that are always dangerous. They smile while they destroy you.
She wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. Oswald Calhoun had controlled this town for years, extending credit to families who could never repay, then calling in debts when it suited him. He was generous only when people watched, and he never forgot a slight. Martha had once refused to deliver his sister's baby after he tried to dictate her methods. He had smiled and said he understood, but she knew he had been waiting ever since for a chance to repay her. The rain continued through the second day. Martha tried to keep herself busy, organizing her medical supplies, mending a torn apron, but she was always aware of Malcolm. He moved through her space like a ghost, never intrusive, never demanding, but always there. By evening, she could not stand the silence any longer.
Why are you really here?
Malcolm looked up from the piece of leather he was repairing.
I told you.
You lied. Or at least, you did not tell the whole truth.
Truth is dangerous.
So are lies.
He set down the leather and met her eyes. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then he sighed.
I am looking for someone. A man who disappeared 3 years ago. I was hired to find him.
By whom?
People who do not give their names.
And you think he is here?
I know. He is here.
Martha felt a chill.
Who is he?
I cannot tell you. If I do, you become part of this.
I am already part of it. You are in my cabin.
Then, I will leave.
He stood, reaching for his saddlebag. But Martha stepped forward.
No. Stay. But no more lies.
I cannot promise that.
Then promise me you will not bring harm to this town.
I cannot promise that either.
She should have been afraid. She should have ordered him out. But instead, she found herself stepping closer. Close enough to see the scar along his jaw. The way his eyes softened when he looked at her.
What kind of man are you?
The kind who does what needs to be done.
That is not an answer.
It is the only one I have.
That night, Martha lay awake again. But this time it was not fear keeping her from sleep. It was the memory of how close she had stood to him, the way her heart had hammered when his gaze had held hers. She was proper, respectable, a woman who had built her life on careful choices. Malcolm Pierce was chaos, danger wrapped in calm. And yet, she could not stop thinking about him. On the third morning, the rain finally stopped. Martha woke to silence and the pale light of a cold sun struggling through the clouds. She dressed quickly and stepped outside. The Mesa village was a disaster. Mud everywhere, fences down, and the creek swollen to a dangerous roar. But the air smelled clean, and for the first time in days, she felt like she could breathe. Malcolm joined her on the porch.
The roads will clear in a day or two.
Then, you will leave.
Yes.
She should have been relieved. Instead, she felt a strange emptiness.
Will you find the man you are looking for?
I already have.
She turned to him, startled.
What?
He is here. In this town. I have been watching him.
Who is he?
The less you know, the safer you are.
Before she could argue, a shout echoed across the village. Martha and Malcolm both turned toward the sound. Smoke was rising from the direction of the creek, thick and black. Fire. The word ran through the village like a living thing. People poured from their homes, grabbing buckets, shouting orders. Martha ran toward the smoke, Malcolm close behind her. When they reached the creek, they found the source. A brush fire, small but growing fast, fed by the dry undergrowth that had been waiting all winter for a spark. And the wind was picking up, pushing the flames toward the village. Everyone to the creek. Form a line. The men organized quickly, passing buckets of water from the swollen creek to the fire line. Martha joined them, her skirts soaked, her hands blistered from the rough rope handles. Malcolm worked beside her, his face grim, his movements efficient. The fire fought back, leaping and twisting, and for hours they battled it. By the time they finally got it under control, the sun was setting and everyone was exhausted. Martha collapsed on the muddy bank, breathing hard. Malcolm sat beside her.
That was no accident.
What do you mean?
Someone set that fire.
Why would anyone do that?
To cover something. Or to send a message.
Martha looked at him, fear creeping into her chest.
What kind of message?
The kind that says, someone knows I am here.
That night, Martha could not shake the unease Malcolm's words had planted. She returned to her cabin, exhausted and filthy, and found a package on her doorstep. It was wrapped in brown paper, tied with twine, and bore no name. She picked it up carefully and brought it inside. Malcolm frowned when he saw it.
Do not open that.
It is addressed to no one. It could be for anyone.
It is for you. And it is a threat.
But Martha was already cutting the twine. Inside the paper was a Bible, old and worn, with a cracked leather cover. She opened it, and her breath caught. The pages had been cut out, replaced with something else. Letters. Dozens of them, written in a cramped hand, detailing payments, names, and dates. And in the margins, accusations. Arson. Fraud. Murder.
What is this?
Evidence. Someone is sending you a message.
Why me?
Because they know you are connected to me. Or because they think you can be used.
Martha flipped through the pages, her hands trembling. One name appeared again and again. Oswald Calhoun.
This is about Oswald.
He is the man I am looking for.
Martha stared at him.
You are hunting Oswald Calhoun.
Not hunting. Watching. He killed a man 3 years ago. Burned his ranch and made it look like an accident. The family hired me to find proof.
And this Bible?
Someone else knows. Someone who wants him exposed. Or someone who wants to use this to control him. Either way, you are now in the middle of it.
Martha closed the Bible, her mind racing.
We have to take this to the sheriff.
The sheriff is in Oswald's pocket. If we go to him, Oswald will know, and he will come for you.
Then what do we do?
We leave. Tonight. Before he realizes you have it.
I cannot leave. This is my home, My practice.
Your life is worth more than a cabin.
She wanted to argue, but before she could, a new sound reached them. Hoofbeats. Fast and hard, coming up the mesa trail. Malcolm moved to the window, his hand going to the gun at his side.
Riders. 4 of them.
Who?
Oswald's men.
Martha felt the fear spike through her.
How do you know?
Because I have been watching them for weeks. And they are coming here.
The riders stopped outside the cabin. Martha heard boots on the porch, and then a fist pounding on the door. Miss Bennett. Open up. We need to talk. It was Oswald's voice, smooth and cold. Martha looked at Malcolm.
Do not open that door.
If I do not, they will break it down.
Then let them. But do not give them the Bible.
Martha grabbed the Bible and shoved it into Malcolm's hands.
Hide it.
He moved fast, slipping it into his saddlebag and then positioning himself behind the door, out of sight. Martha took a breath and opened the door. Oswald stood there, flanked by 3 men she recognized as ranch hands who worked for him. They were armed, and their faces were hard. Miss Bennett, I apologize for the late hour. But I believe you have something that belongs to me.
I do not know what you mean.
Oswald smiled, but it was a predator's smile. A Bible. Old. Leather cover. It was delivered to you by mistake.
I received no Bible.
Oswald stepped forward, forcing her back into the cabin. His men followed. I think you did, and I think you opened it. Which means you know things you should not know.
She said she does not have it.
The voice came from behind the door, and Oswald's men spun, hands going to their guns. Malcolm stepped into view, his own gun drawn, aimed steady at Oswald. Mr. Pierce, I wondered when you would show yourself.
You have been expecting me.
Oswald laughed. Of course. You think I do not know when a hired gun comes to my town. I have been watching you since you arrived.
Then you know why I am here.
Oswald's smile faded. I know you are a dead man if you do not walk away.
I am not walking away.
The cabin was silent, the air thick with violence waiting to break. Martha stood frozen, her heart hammering. Then Oswald turned to her. Miss Bennett, you have a choice. Give me the Bible, and I will forget this ever happened. Keep it, and I will make sure everyone in this town knows you have been sharing your cabin with a hired killer. Your reputation will be destroyed. No one will trust you. No one will let you near their children. It was the threat she had feared most, and Oswald knew it. He watched her face, waiting for her to break. But something inside Martha had shifted. She thought of the women she had helped, the babies she had brought into the world, the trust she had earned. And she thought of Malcolm, standing beside her, willing to fight for her, even though he owed her nothing.
My reputation is not worth a man's life. Keep your threats. We have the Bible, and we are taking it to someone who will listen.
Oswald's face went cold. You are making a mistake.
No. I am done being afraid of you.
Oswald nodded to his men. Take it. The men moved, and Malcolm fired. The shot was deafening in the small cabin, and one of the men dropped, clutching his shoulder. The others froze.
The next one goes through Oswald's head.
Oswald raised his hands slowly. You are outnumbered.
I only need one bullet.
For a long moment, no one moved. Then Oswald smiled again. This is not over. He backed toward the door, his men following. You have until dawn. Then I am coming back with everyone I own in this town. And I will burn this cabin to the ground with both of you in it. He left, and the door slammed behind him. Martha sank onto a chair, shaking. Malcolm holstered his gun and knelt beside her.
We have to leave. Now.
Where?
Anywhere. As long as it is away from here.
He will follow.
Let him. But we need to get you somewhere safe first.
Martha looked at him, and for the first time, she let herself see what had been growing between them. This man, who had walked into her life 3 days ago, was willing to die for her. And she realized she would do the same for him.
I am not running.
Martha.
No. This is my home. If Oswald wants to burn it, he will have to go through me.
He will kill you.
Then, we fight.
Malcolm stared at her, and something like pride flickered in his eyes.
You are either the bravest woman I have ever met, or the most foolish.
Maybe both.
All right. Then we make a stand. But we do it smart.
They spent the rest of the night preparing. Malcolm barricaded the windows, stacked supplies near the door, and checked his ammunition. Martha filled buckets with water, gathered her medical kit, and sharpened the kitchen knives. By the time the first light of dawn touched the mesa, they were ready. The sun rose blood red over Iron Mesa, and with it came Oswald Calhoun. He rode up the trail with a dozen men, all armed, all loyal to him because he controlled their livelihoods. Martha watched from the window, her stomach tight with fear. Malcolm stood beside her, his face unreadable.
He brought an army.
Can we hold them?
Not forever, but long enough.
Oswald dismounted and walked to the edge of the clearing, stopping just outside rifle range. Miss Bennett, Mr. Pierce, I am giving you one last chance. Bring me the Bible, and I will let you live. Martha stepped out onto the porch, Malcolm behind her.
The Bible is gone. We sent it to the territorial marshal last night.
It was a lie, but a good one. Oswald's face went pale. You are lying.
Try me.
Oswald turned to his men, barking orders. They spread out, surrounding the cabin. Martha retreated inside, and Malcolm slammed the door, dropping the bar across it.
They are going to rush us.
How long do we have?
Minutes.
Martha grabbed her rifle, hands shaking, but steady enough. She had never shot at a person before, but she would if she had to. The first shot came through the window, splintering the frame. Malcolm returned fire, and the battle began. It was chaos. Bullets tore through the walls, glass shattered, smoke filled the air. Martha fired blindly, reloading as fast as she could, her ears ringing. Malcolm moved like a machine, calm and precise, every shot deliberate. But they were outnumbered, and Oswald's men were closing in. Then, Martha smelled it. Smoke, not gunpowder. Wood smoke.
They are burning us out.
The back wall.
Martha ran to the back room and saw flames licking up the outside of the cabin. Oswald had set the fire, just as he had promised. The heat was already unbearable.
We have to get out.
Not yet.
Malcolm grabbed the Bible from his saddlebag and held it up.
Oswald, I have it. You want it. Come and get it.
There was a pause, and then Oswald's voice, closer now. Throw it out.
No. You come in and take it.
Another pause. Then footsteps on the porch. The door shook as someone tried to break it down. Malcolm waited, gun ready. The door splintered, and Oswald stepped through, flanked by 2 men. Malcolm fired, and one of the men dropped. The other lunged, and Malcolm met him, the 2 crashing to the floor. Martha swung her rifle like a club, catching the man across the head. He went down hard. Oswald stood in the doorway, his own gun drawn, aimed at Malcolm. End of the line. But before he could fire, a new voice rang out. Drop the gun, Oswald. Martha turned and saw the sheriff standing in the clearing, a rifle aimed at Oswald's back. Behind him were 6 men from the village, armed and grim-faced. The sheriff stepped forward. We found the ranch hand you paid to set the brush fire. He talked, told us everything. About the Bible, about the murder 3 years ago, about the arson. Oswald's face went white, then red. You have no proof. The sheriff nodded to Malcolm. Show him. Malcolm held up the Bible. The sheriff took it, flipped through the pages, and smiled grimly. This is all the proof I need. Oswald Calhoun, you are under arrest. Oswald's men dropped their weapons, and the sheriff's posse moved in. Oswald was dragged away, still shouting threats, but no one listened. The fire was put out, and the cabin, though damaged, still stood. Martha sank onto the porch steps, exhausted and shaking. Malcolm sat beside her, his hand finding hers.
It is over.
Is it?
Oswald will hang. The evidence is clear.
And you?
My job is done. I will leave tomorrow.
Martha felt the words like a blow.
Just like that.
You have your life back, your reputation. You do not need me.
What if I want you?
He turned to her, surprise flickering in his eyes.
Martha.
You heard me. I want you. I do not care what people say. I do not care if it ruins me. I want you to stay.
I am a hired gun. I have no home, no future.
Then build one. Here. With me.
Malcolm stared at her, and for the first time, she saw uncertainty in his face.
You would give up everything for me.
I already did. The moment I stood on that porch and told Oswald no.
He smiled then, slow and real, and pulled her close.
Then, I am staying.
They sat together as the sun climbed higher, the village coming back to life around them. The next morning, Martha woke to the sound of the train whistle echoing across the mesa. She dressed quickly and found Malcolm on the porch, his saddlebag packed. Her heart sank.
You are leaving.
No. I am going to the station to send a telegram to the family who hired me, telling them the job is done.
And then?
Then I am coming back. If you will have me.
Martha stepped into his arms, and he kissed her, slow and sure, as the train whistle sounded again. When they pulled apart, she was smiling.
I will have you.
They walked to the station together, hand in hand, and as the train pulled away, Malcolm turned to her.
I have never had a home.
You do now.
And there, outside the station as the train whistled into the distance, Malcolm Pierce kissed Martha Bennett again, and she knew with absolute certainty that she had chosen right. They walked back through Iron Mesa together, and for the first time in years, Martha felt the weight lift from her shoulders. The villagers stared as they passed, some with curiosity, others with judgment. But she did not care. Malcolm's hand was warm in hers, and that was all that mattered. When they reached her cabin, he paused at the door.
I need to tell you something about why I was really here.
I know you were working a job.
It was more than that. The man who hired me, the one whose brother was murdered, he was my friend. We served together in the war. He asked me to find justice for his family.
And you did?
Yes, but I found something else too.
He touched her face gently.
I found you.
Martha felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them away.
What happens now?
Now we rebuild. Together.
Over the next few days, they worked side by side to repair the cabin. Malcolm proved himself handy with more than just guns, fixing the scorched boards and reinforcing the walls. Martha tended to the injured from the fire, her reputation slowly mending as people saw how hard she worked. The sheriff came by one afternoon with news. Oswald had confessed to everything, hoping for a lighter sentence. The murder 3 years ago had been over a land dispute, and Oswald had hidden the evidence in the Bible, never expecting anyone to look twice at a book in a midwife's cabin. The man should hang, the sheriff said grimly. And he will. The judge is coming next week. Martha nodded, feeling a strange mix of relief and sorrow. She had never wanted anyone dead, but justice demanded it. After the sheriff left, she found Malcolm in the shed behind the cabin, working on a new rifle.
You are staying then? For good?
If you will let me.
I already said yes.
I know, but I want to do this right.
He set down his tools and turned to her, his expression serious.
Martha Bennett, I am not a rich man. I have no land, no title. But I love you, and I will spend every day proving it.
Martha's breath caught.
Malcolm Pierce, I do not need your land or your title. I just need you.
He smiled, that rare, genuine smile that made her heart race, and kissed her. It was deep and slow, full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, Martha was breathless.
So what now?
Now, we tell the town.
They will talk.
Let them.
And so they did. That evening, Malcolm and Martha walked through the center of Iron Mesa, hand in hand, making no effort to hide their affection. Some people whispered, others smiled, but most simply nodded. Martha realized that the scandal she had feared was smaller than she thought. People had their own troubles, their own lives. A midwife and a gunsmith falling in love was hardly the worst thing that had happened in Iron Mesa. The next Sunday, they attended church together. Martha wore her best dress, and Malcolm wore a clean shirt and his Sunday coat. They sat in the back, but Reverend Shaw smiled at them from the pulpit, and Martha felt a warmth she had not felt in years. After the service, several women approached her, offering quiet congratulations and invitations to tea. Martha accepted with grace, surprised by the kindness. As they walked home, Malcolm squeezed her hand.
See, not so bad.
No. Not so bad at all.
That night, they sat together on the porch, watching the stars come out over the mesa. The air was cold, but Malcolm had wrapped a blanket around them both, and Martha felt warm and safe.
Do you ever think about leaving? Going back east?
No. This is home now.
Even with all the danger?
Especially with all the danger. It means there is something worth protecting.
Martha leaned her head on his shoulder.
I never thought I would be happy again. After everything that happened.
What happened?
The war. Losing my brother. Being alone.
You are not alone anymore.
She looked up at him, and he kissed her forehead gently.
I know.
The following week, the judge arrived, and Oswald Calhoun was tried and sentenced to hang. Malcolm testified, and Martha sat in the courtroom, her hands folded in her lap. When the verdict was read, she felt no joy, only a quiet sense of closure. Justice had been done. After the trial, Malcolm suggested they take a ride out to the edge of the mesa. Martha agreed, and they saddled 2 horses and rode out into the open land. The wind was brisk, but the sun was warm, and the sky stretched endlessly above them. They stopped at a cliff overlooking the valley below, and Malcolm helped Martha down from her horse.
I used to come out here when I first arrived. To think.
What did you think about?
Whether I could stay. Whether I belonged.
And now?
Now I know. I do.
He pulled her close, and they stood together, looking out over the vast expanse.
I want to build a life with you, Malcolm. A real life.
Then, we will.
They rode back to the cabin as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. When they arrived, Malcolm took care of the horses, while Martha started a fire inside. They ate a simple supper together, talking about the future, about plans for the cabin, about the people they had met. Later, as they sat by the fire, Malcolm reached into his coat and pulled out a small wooden box.
I made this for you.
Martha opened it to find a delicate ring, carved from a single piece of wood and polished to a soft shine.
Malcolm.
I know it is not gold or silver, but it is mine, and I want you to have it.
Martha slipped the ring onto her finger, tears streaming down her face.
It is perfect.
So are you.
He kissed her then, deep and tender, and Martha knew with absolute certainty that she had found her home. Not in the cabin, not in Iron Mesa, but in him. The days that followed were filled with quiet joy. Malcolm continued his work as a gunsmith, and Martha continued her work as a midwife. They became a fixture in the town, a couple that people pointed to as proof that love could survive even the hardest times. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Martha rested her head on Malcolm's shoulder.
Do you ever regret staying?
Never.
Even when people talk?
Especially when people talk. It means we are alive.
Martha smiled.
I love you, Malcolm Pierce.
And I love you, Martha Bennett.
They sat together in the fading light, 2 people who had found each other against all odds, and as the stars began to appear, Martha knew that this was only the beginning. The midwife who sheltered a dangerous stranger during the storm, Iron Mesa, 1888. Martha Bennett is a respected midwife with a secret that could destroy her. When a wildfire threatens the town and a quiet gunsmith reveals his true mission, she must choose between her reputation and the truth. A gripping Wild West romance filled with danger, betrayal, and the courage to love against all odds. Subscribe for more authentic Western romance stories. Wild West romance, cowboy love story, historical romance, Western drama, midwife story, Gunsmith hero, 1888 Texas. Iron Mesa, forbidden love, dangerous stranger, wildfire survival, revenge thriller, happy ending romance, period drama, authentic Western, colorized late 1800s American West photograph. Natural light, gentle contrast, slightly soft focus, subtle film grain, faint dust scratches, slight vignetting. No text, no watermark. A beautiful woman in her late 20s, with chestnut brown hair pinned up, hazel eyes filled with fear and determination, wearing a dark green wool dress with a cream apron and a brown shawl, stands on a wooden cabin porch gripping the railing as flames rise in the background. Beside her, a rugged, handsome man in his early 30s with dark brown hair, blue eyes, strong jaw, wearing a black wool coat over a gray shirt and dark trousers with a brown cowboy hat, stands protectively close with one hand on her shoulder and the other holding a rifle. The background shows orange flames and thick smoke billowing from a brush fire approaching the cabin, with a wooden water barrel in the foreground, a hitching post in the midground, and the distant silhouette of the mesa cliffs through the smoke. The scene is shot during late afternoon with harsh firelight casting dramatic shadows, storm clouds overhead, warm amber and orange color grading from the flames contrasting with cooler gray storm tones. Photorealistic cinematic style, shot on cinema camera, natural golden hour lighting, shallow depth of field with soft bokeh background, warm beige and amber color grading. Looks like a film still from a premium Western romance movie. Authentic 1800s period photography aesthetic, professional portrait photog. The days that followed were filled with rebuilding. The fire had damaged several buildings on the edge of town, and Malcolm worked alongside the other men to repair what had been lost. Martha returned to her duties, delivering babies and tending to the sick. But now there was a lightness in her step that had not been there before. Every evening, Malcolm would appear at her door, sometimes with firewood, sometimes with supplies, always with that quiet smile that made her heart race. They spoke little of the future, but it was there between them, unspoken and certain. 1 week after the fire, Martha was called to a homestead 5 miles north. A woman had gone into labor early, and the husband was frantic. Malcolm insisted on riding with her, and she did not argue. The ride was cold, the wind sharp against their faces, but Martha felt warm with Malcolm beside her. When they arrived, the cabin was small and drafty, but Martha worked quickly, her hands steady and sure. Malcolm stayed outside with the husband, keeping him calm, and when the baby finally arrived, healthy and squalling, Martha stepped out into the night with a smile.
All well.
Mother and child are fine.
The husband rushed inside, and Malcolm pulled Martha close.
You are remarkable.
I am only doing my job.
No. You are saving lives. Every day.
She looked up at him, her breath visible in the cold air.
And you? What will you do now that Oswald is gone?
I thought I might stay. Help rebuild. Maybe learn a trade.
You are a gunsmith.
I am. But I do not want to be a hired gun anymore. I want to build something. With you.
Martha felt tears prick her eyes, but they were happy tears.
I would like that.
They rode back to Iron Mesa in the early hours of the morning, the sky just beginning to lighten. When they reached her cabin, Malcolm helped her down from the horse and held her for a long moment.
I love you, Martha.
I love you too.
He kissed her then, slow and deep, and when they pulled apart, the sun was rising over the mesa, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The weeks passed, and Malcolm settled into life in Iron Mesa. He opened a small shop on the main street, repairing guns and tools, and word spread quickly that he was honest and skilled. Martha continued her work, but now she had Malcolm by her side, and the loneliness that had haunted her for so long was gone. One evening in late winter, as they sat together in her cabin, Malcolm pulled out a small wooden box.
I made this for you.
Martha opened it carefully. Inside was a delicate silver ring, simple and beautiful.
Malcolm.
I know it is not much, but I want you to have it. I want everyone to know that you are mine.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I will marry you.
He slipped the ring onto her finger, and she laughed, tears streaming down her face. They were married the following Sunday in the small church on the edge of town. The whole village turned out, and even the preacher, who had once looked at Martha with suspicion, smiled as he pronounced them husband and wife. Martha wore a simple blue dress, and Malcolm wore his best coat, and when they kissed, the church erupted in cheers. Afterward, there was a celebration in the town square, with food and music and dancing. Martha danced with Malcolm under the stars, her heart so full she thought it might burst.
I never thought I could be this happy.
Neither did I.
As the night wore on, they slipped away from the crowd and walked back to the cabin, hand in hand. The fire crackled in the hearth, and Malcolm pulled Martha close.
This is home now.
Yes. This is home.
And as they stood together, wrapped in each other's arms, Martha knew that she had found something she had never dared to hope for. A love that was real and true. A partner who would stand beside her no matter what came, and a future that was theirs to build together. The winter deepened, and life in Iron Mesa settled into a comfortable rhythm. Malcolm's shop became a gathering place for the men of the town, where they brought their broken tools and weapons and stayed to talk. Martha's practice grew as well. Women who had once whispered about her now sought her help openly, trusting her skill and her discretion. The cabin became a home in ways Martha had never imagined. Malcolm built new shelves for her medical supplies and repaired the leaky roof. She sewed curtains for the windows and planted herbs in a small garden outside. In the evenings, they sat by the fire, talking and reading, and sometimes just sitting in silence, content in each other's presence. One cold afternoon in early February, a rider came into town, his horse lathered and wild-eyed. He went straight to the sheriff's office, and within minutes, word spread through the village. There had been a stagecoach robbery 20 miles south. 2 passengers were injured, and the bandits had escaped into the canyons. The sheriff organized a posse, and Malcolm volunteered immediately. Martha tried to hide her fear, but he saw it in her eyes.
I will be back before nightfall.
Promise me.
I promise.
He kissed her and rode out with the others, his rifle across his saddle. Martha watched until they disappeared over the ridge, then went back inside and tried to work. But her hands shook as she measured out powders, and her mind kept wandering to the canyons and the men who rode there. The hours crawled by. She delivered a baby in the early afternoon, a healthy boy who cried lustily, and the mother thanked her with tears in her eyes. But even that joy could not chase away the cold knot of worry in her chest. Sunset came and went, and there was no sign of the posse. Martha lit the lamps and waited. She tried to eat, but the food tasted like dust. She paced the cabin, listening for hoofbeats, her heart pounding. It was full dark when she finally heard them. The posse rode back into town, tired and grim-faced. Martha ran to the door, searching the riders for Malcolm. He was there, near the back, and when he saw her, he dismounted and came to her quickly.
I am. All right.
Did you find them?
We found them. They are dead. They tried to fight.
Martha pulled him inside and made him sit by the fire. She could see the exhaustion in his face, the way his hands trembled slightly as he took off his coat.
Were you hurt?
No. But one of the sheriff's men was shot. He will live, but it was close.
She made him tea and sat beside him, her hand on his.
I was so afraid.
I know. I am sorry.
Do not be sorry. Just do not leave me.
I will not. Not if I can help it.
They sat together until the fire burned low, and then Malcolm carried her to bed and held her until she fell asleep. The next morning, the town was quiet and somber. The injured man was recovering, and the stolen goods had been returned to the stagecoach company. But the violence had shaken everyone, a reminder that the frontier was still a dangerous place. Malcolm worked in his shop, quiet and focused, and Martha saw the way people looked at him with new respect. He had proven himself, not just as a gunsmith, but as a man willing to stand and fight for his town. That evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sun set over the mesa, Malcolm spoke.
I have been thinking.
About what?
About the future. About what comes next.
And
I want to build a real home. A bigger house. Maybe start a family.
Martha turned to him, her heart swelling.
a family.
If you want that.
I do. I want that more than anything.
He smiled and pulled her close, and they sat together as the stars came out, dreaming of the life they would build. The weeks turned into months, and spring came to Iron Mesa. The snow melted, and the mesa bloomed with wildflowers. Malcolm began building a new house on a piece of land just outside town, and Martha helped him plan every detail. The walls went up slowly, but steadily, and the townspeople came to help, repaying the kindness Malcolm and Martha had shown them. By summer, the house was finished. It was simple but solid, with wide windows and a big fireplace. Martha planted a garden, and Malcolm built a workshop beside the house. They moved in on a bright June morning, carrying their few possessions from the cabin. That night, they sat on the porch of their new home and watched the sunset.
We did it.
We did.
I never thought I could have this. A home. A husband. A future.
You deserve it all.
She leaned against him, and he wrapped his arm around her shoulders.
Do you ever think about the past? About what brought you here?
Sometimes. But I do not regret it. If I had not come to Iron Mesa, I would never have found you.
And I would never have found you.
They sat in silence, watching the stars appear one by one. In the distance, a coyote howled, and the wind rustled through the grass.
What do you think comes next?
I do not know. But I know we will face it together.
Together.
And as the night deepened and the world grew quiet, Martha and Malcolm sat hand in hand. Two people who had found each other in the most unlikely of places, and who had built a life together out of courage and love and hope. The summer passed in a blur of work and laughter. Malcolm's shop thrived, and Martha's services as a midwife were needed more than ever as families began to settle in the growing town. She delivered 3 babies that summer, and each time she returned home to Malcolm, exhausted but happy. He would have dinner waiting and a fire crackling in the hearth. One evening in late August, as they sat together after supper, Martha felt a flutter in her belly. She placed her hand there, hardly daring to believe it. Malcolm noticed immediately.
What is it? Are you all right?
I think I am more than all right.
She took his hand and placed it on her stomach.
I think I am carrying our child.
Malcolm's eyes widened, and then his face broke into the widest smile she had ever seen.
Are you certain?
Not yet, but I know my own body. I have helped enough women to recognize the signs.
A baby. Our baby.
He pulled her into his arms and held her so tightly she could barely breathe.
I am going to be a father.
And I am going to be a mother.
They laughed and cried together, and that night they lay awake for hours, talking about names and plans and all the things they would teach their child. As autumn arrived, Martha's condition became clear to everyone. The women of the town smiled knowingly and brought her gifts, blankets and baby clothes, and jars of preserves. Malcolm became even more protective, insisting she rest and refusing to let her ride out to distant homesteads alone.
I am a midwife, Malcolm. I have done this my whole life.
Not while carrying our child. I will take you wherever you need to go.
You cannot follow me everywhere.
Watch me.
But his protectiveness came from love, and Martha could not be angry. She let him drive her in the wagon to appointments, and he would wait outside, pacing and worrying until she emerged. The townspeople teased him gently, but he did not care. One crisp October morning, Martha woke to find Malcolm already up and working in the yard. He was building a cradle, his hands moving with the same precision he used on his gun work. She stood in the doorway, watching him, her hand resting on her swollen belly.
It is beautiful.
It needs to be perfect. For our son. Or daughter.
It already is perfect.
He set down his tools and came to her, placing his hand over hers.
I never thought I would have this. A wife. A child. A home.
Neither did I. But here we are.
Here we are.
The baby came in early December, on a night when the wind howled outside and snow fell in thick curtains. Martha's labor was long and difficult, and Malcolm paced the floor like a caged animal, listening to her cries from the next room. The town's other midwife, an older woman named Sarah, attended Martha, and she would not let Malcolm in.
Let me see her.
Sarah shook her head firmly. You will only be in the way. Trust me. She is strong. But when Martha screamed, Malcolm could not stay away. He pushed past Sarah and went to his wife's side, taking her hand.
I am here. I am right here.
It hurts.
I know. But you are the strongest woman I have ever met. You can do this.
She gripped his hand so hard he thought his bones might break, but he did not flinch. Hours passed, and then, just before dawn, a baby's cry filled the room. Sarah wrapped the infant in a blanket and placed the tiny bundle in Martha's arms. "It is a girl." Martha looked down at her daughter, tears streaming down her face. The baby had dark hair and blue eyes, and she was perfect.
She is beautiful.
She is, just like her mother.
Malcolm leaned down and kissed Martha's forehead, then gently touched his daughter's tiny hand. The baby's fingers curled around his, and he felt his heart swell.
What should we name her?
I was thinking Rose. After the wildflowers on the mesa.
Rose. I like that. Rose Pierce.
And so their daughter was named, and Malcolm and Martha sat together in the quiet of the early morning, holding their child and marveling at the life they had created. The years that followed were full and rich. Rose grew into a bright, curious child with her mother's hazel eyes and her father's quiet determination. Malcolm's shop thrived, and he became known throughout the Panhandle as the best gunsmith in Texas. Martha continued her midwifery, and together they became pillars of the Iron Mesa community. But life on the frontier was never without its challenges. When Rose was 3, a drought struck the region. The wells ran dry, and the crops withered in the fields. The townspeople grew desperate, and tempers flared. Malcolm and Martha did what they could, sharing their water and their food. But resources were scarce. One hot August afternoon, a group of ranchers rode into town, demanding that the sheriff do something about the water shortage. Malcolm was in his shop when he heard the commotion. He stepped outside to find a dozen armed men surrounding the sheriff's office. "We need water, and we need it now. The ranchers have been hoarding it." The sheriff, an older man named Tom Hayes, tried to calm them. "I understand your frustration, but violence will not solve this." One of the men, a hot-headed cowboy named Jack, drew his gun. "Then maybe violence is what we need." Malcolm stepped forward, his voice calm but firm.
"Put the gun down, Jack."
Jack turned, his eyes blazing. "Stay out of this, Pierce. This does not concern you."
It concerns all of us. We are all suffering. But turning on each other will only make it worse.
Another man spoke up. "He is right. We need to work together." Slowly, the tension eased. Jack lowered his gun, and the crowd began to disperse. Malcolm stayed with the sheriff until everyone had gone. "Thank you, Malcolm. You may have just saved lives today."
I hope so.
That night, Malcolm and Martha sat on their porch, Rose asleep inside.
You took a risk today.
I had to. This town is our home. These people are our neighbors.
I know. But I worry about you.
I worry about you too. About Rose. About all of us. But we will get through this. We always do.
And they did. The drought broke a few weeks later, and the rains came. The town celebrated, and life returned to normal. Rose grew older, and Martha and Malcolm watched her with pride. She was smart and kind, and she loved to follow her father around his shop, asking endless questions.
Why do guns work like that? Because of the way the powder ignites. See here.
He would explain patiently, and Rose would listen, her eyes wide with fascination. Martha would watch them from the doorway, her heart full. When Rose was 7, Martha discovered she was expecting again. Malcolm was overjoyed, and Rose was excited to become a big sister. This time, the pregnancy was easier, and in the spring, Martha gave birth to a son. They named him James, after Malcolm's father.
He looks just like you.
He has your eyes.
Then, he will be trouble.
Martha laughed, and Malcolm kissed her. They were a family now, complete and happy. The years passed, and Iron Mesa grew. New families arrived, new buildings went up, and the little town on the mesa became a thriving community. Malcolm's shop was always busy, and Martha delivered babies and tended the sick, respected and loved by everyone. Rose grew into a bright young woman, and James followed in his father's footsteps, learning the gunsmith trade. One evening, when Rose was 17 and James was 10, the family gathered on the porch of their home. The sun was setting over the mesa, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and gold. Malcolm sat with his arm around Martha, and their children sat beside them.
Do you remember the first time we met?
How could I forget? You showed up at my door in the middle of a storm.
And you took me in.
I did not have much choice.
You always had a choice, and you chose to trust me.
Best decision I ever made.
Rose smiled. Tell us the story again. Martha laughed.
You have heard it 100 times.
But Rose insisted, and so Martha told the story once more, of the storm, and the cabin, and the Bible, and the fire, and of how two strangers had found love in the most unlikely of circumstances. When she finished, Malcolm squeezed her hand.
We have built a good life.
We have.
And it all started with you taking a chance on a quiet stranger.
And you taking a chance on a midwife with secrets.
They sat together as the stars came out, surrounded by the family they had built and the life they had created. And as the night deepened and the world grew quiet, Martha leaned her head on Malcolm's shoulder and smiled, knowing that every choice, every risk, every moment of courage had led them here, to this perfect, beautiful life together.